Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Church of Brunswick and Bailey Island. My name is Glenn Williams and I'm the chairperson of our Board of Trustees. I have some announcements for today's virtual worship service. First, I sent an all-church email on Thursday with information about how to donate online. I know we've had some problems with this means of communication and that some people do not receive the messages. Please let me know if you did not get the message, and I will send it to you directly. It's important that we do our best to keep our promises to ourselves and to our chosen charities. That's why we've made the effort to establish online plate donation capability. A big thanks to Paul Paranto for his work on this. It's certainly still possible to contribute by mailing a check with plate in the memo line to UUCB. Finally, about pledging. You can also make a pledge online in exactly the same way we've been doing since the pledge campaign began. For those who have automatic withdrawal set up already, it's best if you keep that as it is into the next church year, since it's a no-fee service offered to us by Atlantic Federal Credit Union. Enough about money. Let's get on to worship. Once again, welcome.
Okay, so how hard can it be, right? I mean, you have hair and you have scissors. And you apply the scissors to the hair and you have a haircut. That's what I think. What I'm thinking is if I cut it the same length all around, that should work. So that's what I'm going to try. Here we go. This doesn't work. We always have those old clippers. You can always haul them out and give my head a shave. That would be interesting. Here we go. Yeah, that'll work. I think that'll work. And you're going to do the back, right?
I am?
Yeah.
Being connected to the people that we care about brings us joy. When things change around us, it can be scary. And when we are scared, we may have a hard time remembering that we are connected to each other and that there is joy that we always can bring to each other. So I wanted to share with you all a little reminder of how we can stay connected and how we can bring joy to each other and even to people that we might not know so well. We can write letters and draw pictures, and we can send them to people. It feels good to think about people, but it feels even better to tell them that you're thinking about them. Another thing we can do is we can draw pictures or write notes and put them in our window to share with people going by. In the neighborhood next to mine, kids have put up pictures in their windows of rainbows that remind us that even storms come with their own sort of beauty. We can smile and wave at each other from a safe distance as we do our exercise walks around the neighborhood. We can even smile and wave to people that we don't know so well. Smiles are contagious. Try it. We can share. If we are lucky enough to have everything that we need, we can share those things with our friends. Sharing makes our hearts feel so much fuller. It reminds us that we are all in this together. These are just some of the ways that we can be good friends and neighbors and bring each other joy. And I'm sure that you can think of plenty more.
The Scratched Diamond. There once was a very wealthy king who owned many beautiful things. He had cloth tapestries, piles of gold, and statues made by the very best sculptors in the land. Of all of his belongings, his very favorite possession was the most glorious diamond you can imagine. It was huge, as big around as his hand, and it was pure, clear, and flawless, without any marks or blemishes. He'd love to go and sit with that diamond, gazing at its beauty and perfection. One day, when the king went to look at his diamond, he discovered to his horror that it had a long, deep scratch. He couldn't believe his eyes. What could have happened to his flawless diamond? Immediately he sent for all of the best stone cutters and diamond cutters in his kingdom. One by one they came to inspect the diamond. Each looked at it closely and then sadly shook his or her head. The scratch was too deep.
Guys,
if they tried to polish it, they might break the diamond into pieces.
Mama, stop it. I want to dip it down that way.
Okay, you do your puppet too, okay? The king watched. Let's see. Finally, one last diamond carver came before the king. She looked at the diamond closely, gazing at it from every angle. The king watched with bated breath as the diamond carver turned the diamond over and over, pursing her lips and shaking her head. Suddenly, the diamond carver's face broke into a big smile. "I know how to fix this, Your Majesty," she exclaimed. "Leave it to me. In 2 weeks' time, I will return your diamond to you better than ever. However, you may not visit me during this time or check on my progress. You must wait until it is finished." The king was very excited. Soon his flawless diamond would be back with his other lovely things, perfect again, the scratch removed. It took all the king's willpower to resist the temptation to visit the diamond carver to watch her work. As for the diamond carver, day after day, night after night, she brought out her tools to fix that diamond. Bit by bit, she worked on that scratch. It was slow, tedious work. She knew she had to work carefully or the diamond could crack into pieces. Finally, the diamond cutter was finished. Carefully, she wrapped the diamond in cloth to protect it, and she brought it before the king. "Here it is, Your Majesty," she said. With a flourish, she opened the cloth and presented the diamond.
Mama.
Yes.
Sylvia, stop it. Remember that guy was saying all those guys were when he was saying those guys all the way down to town. He was like he was saying all those guys. He was running in circles.
He was running in circles.
And then he was like he was laughing to get everyone.
Okay, well let's listen.
And Momo was like, okay, Mama, let's land this hand.
Okay, let's keep going.
Okay.
The king gasped at what he saw. Where there had once been a scratch, a horrible flaw in his precious diamond, there was now an exquisitely beautiful flower carved into the diamond. Unable to polish the scratch out of the diamond carver had instead turned the flaw into something beautiful. The king loved his diamond more than ever. Now, when he went to hold it in his hands and gaze upon it, he was reminded that even something imperfect or ugly or flawed can become something exquisitely beautiful.
Guys, don't you think?
Oh, well, I heard as a child, there's two ways to see the world as it is and the way it should be. Now, some people say that's just not my problem, but some people do what must be done. Now they see a hole in the fabric that must be sewn. They see the way blockaded and they roll back the stone. They see the day beyond the horizon and they do what must be done. Now some people do what must be done. Yes, they do what must be done. They see the day beyond the horizon and they do what must be done. Now I've seen the toll taken, the tears that were shed, the journey started and the ripples spread. Now some people say that's just not my problem, but some people do what must be done. Now they see a hole in the fabric that must be sewn. They see the wave blockaded and they roll back the stone. They see the day beyond the horizon and they do what must be done. Now some people do what must be done. Yes, they do what must be done. They see the day beyond the horizon and they do what must be done. Now some people do what must be done. Yes, they do what must be done. They see the day beyond the horizon and they do what must be done. They see the day beyond the horizon and they do what must be done. They see the day beyond the horizon and they do what must be done.
Normally on this Sunday I would be preaching about Earth Day, which is coming up this week. But I have only 5 worship services left with you before I retire. If our worship year had gone according to plan, the weeks leading up to my retirement would have included times for us to review and celebrate our shared ministry together. But COVID-19 changed all of that, of course, and nothing has gone according to plan in the last month or so. Most immediate for me in these past few weeks has been to figure out ways to offer hope and connection to you. A global pandemic is way bigger than any one minister's retiring, after all. Other Earth Days will come along. UUCB will continue to find ways to care for the earth and to bring messages of that care to the people. But because our time together is limited, I feel a pressing need to begin that process of sharing, that process of reflecting with you. How weird it feels to me, and maybe to you, to be starting the final goodbye process remotely. But these are strange times we live in. So let me offer an unusual metaphor for exploration. Hair anxiety, which itself is a sign of the times we live in. A friend of mine who posts occasional meditations on YouTube recently exclaimed, "I was doing okay until my husband asked, 'What are we going to do about our hair?'" Another friend recently posted a Facebook meme that said, "In 2 months, 80% of the world's blondes will disappear from the face of the earth." On Zoom chats, friends lean into the camera to expose their roots, now clearly showing. And Facebook friends post pictures of their self-haircuts. Lately, I've heard more people fret and joke about their hair than they fret and joke about toilet paper, and that's pretty often. In fact, in the paper I read this week, the latest run on products has to do with hair products. People are buying hair clippers and dye in record numbers right now. Hair anxiety. What can hair anxiety teach us as we begin to say goodbye to each other? Well, let me offer up 2 thoughts. First, hair anxiety teaches us about relationships. Human beings, like others in the ape family, groom themselves as a means of relating to each other. Because we care about relationships, we tend to want to present well to others. Once, a long time ago, when I was serving another congregation, I got this email out of the blue. "Hi, Sylvia. I heard you got a haircut you're not happy with. My sympathy, especially you who have to be front and center so often. You might try Josie downtown. She also serves the only good espresso in town." Well, that was interesting. I was a new minister, and until then I had had very few interactions with that particular parishioner. Certainly I had never spoken directly to her about my haircut. Someone who had heard me kvetching must have passed the news along. And that's the way it is in churches. News travels through little channels often invisible to the minister, but alive with activity nonetheless. I composed my response. "Dear parishioner, thanks so much for the tip. My new haircut is growing on me." But as I was so new to the ministry then, I was left wondering, is that what church people really talk about? The minister's haircut? Is that ministry? Well, as it turns out, yes, that's what churches really talk about. And yes, that's ministry. From my current vantage point, it seems to me that that particular email exchange about the haircut was a pretty good indicator of what I was in for. Sure, in active congregations, parishioners and ministers do really important work together, addressing international, national, and local issues. Churches provide an important voice in the public square. Also, ministers preside over significant life events, births, marriages, deaths, And the ups and downs in between, those things all garner the minister's attention. Hatch, match, and dispatch, that's a minister's job, some say. And in between, in times of discord, there is also patch. But seemingly insignificant day-to-day events, from the banal to the magnificent, will fertilize a ministry. Church people talk about the weather, whether or not the coffee is strong enough, the minister's clothes, the most recently conceived and the most recently bereaved, the minister's preaching, whether or not applause is appropriate in church, pastoral care needs, the best way to reach out to young families, the best way to serve the lonely and isolated, and the minister's haircut. I have come to celebrate that, because real ministry finds its genesis there, in those little comments, those mundane moments. Out of the safety of the ordinary, people may draw the courage to move into deeper, more meaningful territory. We may find ways to reveal and speak the truth to one another. We begin to relate to one another, and with any luck, we deepen our trust in each other. After all, that larger ministry to community and world won't go far unless ministers and congregations develop trusting relationships. The woman who wrote me the email about my haircut, she needed time to feel safe with me, her new minister. When I read her email, it was as though she had raised a flag that said, "I've been watching you, and I like you. Will you like me too?" Over time, that parishioner and I developed a good rapport, and it all started with a comment about a haircut, which began to sow the seeds of relationship. Maybe for all religions, but certainly for Unitarian Universalists, relationships are critical. We base our time and work together on covenant, or our promises that we make to one another. Promises not about the ways we will believe together, but about the ways we will be together. Our Sunday school kids make covenants at the beginning of the church year that describe how they will be together. Most of our communities have similar covenants that describe how they agree to work together. One achievement you and I have enjoyed together was the creation and adoption of our congregational covenant, which is meant to guide all of our relationships with one another. This is that covenant. We, the congregation of the Unitarian Universalist Church of Brunswick, believing in the value of beloved community, affirm that we will respect one another and support the work of the congregation. Listen respectfully to one another. Celebrate and encourage diversity. Be present to one another and attend to one another's needs. Dream boldly. Act with courage and integrity. Give generously of our time, energy, talent, and money. Encourage the spiritual journeys of all our generations. Bring conscience, compassion, and kindness into our interactions and our search for justice. Take responsibility for ourselves and our actions, and for upholding the values and aspirations of our covenant. In my time as your minister, I have occasionally witnessed people leaving our congregation because they didn't like the theology presented here. While disappointing and sad to say goodbye because of theology, I have always felt the rightness to their decision to pursue a better fit, They wanted to believe together in a different way. Sadder and harder for me has been the admittedly very rare occasions when people have departed over relationship issues. My sadness has always stemmed from the fact that relationship is where our work always begins. Relationship is fundamental to all we do. We won't get it perfect, ever. But a covenant continually invites us back in to learn from mistakes and to try again. And that raises my second point. Hair anxiety teaches us about perfection, or more to the point, imperfection. The Sunday after my former parishioner sent me her email about the haircut, I bumped into her in the hallway before church began. I thanked her for sending me the name of her hairdresser, and we chatted for a few minutes. Before long, we were talking about Martin Luther, of all people. My parishioner said, "People say Martin Luther was anti-Semitic, but I think those were just the times he lived in. We can't think of everything in our lifetimes." Yes, I agreed. We all are hemmed in by the context in which we live. All we can do is our best with our human limitations. We won't get things 100% right. There will still be work left for the people who come along after us. Those are good words to remember. We're only human, and we won't get things 100% right. There will always be more work to do when our day is done. And as for haircuts, well, hair grows, and another haircut is always coming along. My day with you is nearly done now. I have tried valiantly to honor your calling by doing my best. There is plenty I have done well, but I have made mistakes too. When I have failed, I have always tried to remember that old adage, tomorrow is another day. There is plenty of work left for whoever follows me. Like me, your interim minister will not be perfect. Like me, your new called minister a couple of years from now will not be perfect either. There is plenty of work you have done well too during my time with you, and there is plenty of work still to follow. Wonderful as this congregation is, and it is wonderful, there will always be more things to work on, to learn from, and to make better. We are all the living examples of Confucius's advice. Better a diamond with a flaw than a pebble without. Together we have mined flawed diamonds rather than to be content with pebbles. And by doing that, we have been good together, and we have created good together too. As we have worked together, what materials have we really had to work with other than the stuff of our daily lives? Frederick Buechner says, and this is paraphrasing, drawing on nothing fancier than the poetry of our own lives, let us use words that help make the surface of our lives transparent to the truth that lies deep within. The wordless truth of who we are and who God is to us, and the gospel of our meeting. As you move forward to a time of interim, and as I move forward into a new stage of my life, I encourage all of us to use the tools we have available, our hearts, our minds, our hands, and even our hair. I love you all. So may it be. Amen. Now is the time when we ask you to exercise your generosity as much as you are able to. One of the traditions I love about this church is that we split our Sunday collection 50-50 with a charity with soul. Those charities are all chosen by the congregation in a democratic vote. Ever since we've moved to virtual worship, it's been harder to collect that money, as you might guess. And that means our outreach beyond the congregation is suffering. Because most of us are confined to our homes right now, the collection may be one of the few ways that we can serve our wider world, however. So I invite you to give as generously as you can. For the month of April, our Charity with Soul is the Unitarian Universalist Service Committee. The Unitarian Universalist Service Committee, the UUSC, provides support to on-the-ground agencies that are helping impoverished and suffering communities all around the world. Rather than head overseas to convert people, the UUSC partners with local groups to train and empower people to change their lives. 50% of today's collection will go to the UUSC. The remainder will support the ongoing ministries of UUCB. We have a wonderful song queued up, a wonderful song by Judd Caswell. And while Judd plays, you will see information on how to give. I invite you to be generous. Thank you.
Shingles going silver in the long summer twilight on my grandfather's barn. The ridgepole walks a crooked line, swaying deeper with the time. And the nightshade and the ivy grow together by the fieldstone foundation as it shoulders the road. It may not hold another year. That's why we've called the engineer. And he grips his clipboard, chews his pen, squints up through the rafters and says, I will tell you, friend, don't ask, 'cause you don't want to know. The numbers think this should have failed you long ago. There's something holding it together the math will never show. So say a little prayer and on you go. She's got baby blue and powder pink speckles, a well-worn t-shirt from my favorite band. There's stacks of books on every floor. There's masking tape around the door. So I brush aside the drop cloths from the keyboard of the old piano, so I can wander for a while. Don't hear her coming up behind till she puts her hand in mine. She says she's worried, she can't see clear. Do I think there will be room enough for 3 this year? Well, don't ask, 'cause you don't want to know. The numbers think that should have failed us long ago. But there's something holding it together the math will never show. So say a little prayer on we go. It seems to me that life is lifeless if you're just waiting on some guarantee. You may prove that hope is hopeless. All I ask is don't tell me. 'Cause I don't wanna know if the numbers think this should have failed me long ago. There's something holding it together the math will never show. So I say a little prayer and on I go. I just say a little prayer and on I go.
I invite you to join me for some moments of meditation and prayer, starting first with a meditation written by Thich Nhat Hanh, and then followed by a prayer. I invite you to close your eyes if you feel comfortable doing so, or simply to adopt a soft gaze. And simply breathe in and out. Breathing in, I know I am breathing in. Breathing out, I know I am breathing out. Breathing in, I notice my in-breath has become deeper. Breathing out, I notice that my out-breath has become slower. Breathing in, I calm myself. Breathing out, I feel at ease. Breathing in, I smile. Breathing out, I release. Breathing in, I dwell in the present moment. Breathing out, I feel it is a wonderful moment. Spirit of life and love. This is a prayer for our house, the house where we are sequestered now, as well as our church home and family, and even our earth home, so beautiful. Keep our homes safe from harm. Guard our relationships with our loved ones in these stressful times. Help us to find patience and creativity in the midst of uncertainty and worry. Help us to find peace within our souls and to project that peace gently into our world. Help us to accept our imperfections and to do our best regardless of our failings. We offer a special prayer for first responders, last responders, and all medical people battling the COVID virus, as well as for all who are sick, dying, and bereaved. We ask they all be held in love. Today, we ask for confidence to move into the future, creativity to fuel our growth, and love to guide our days. So may it be. Amen. At dawn, may new energy burn in your breast. May you have hope, courage, and creativity the whole day through. And may quiet, restorative rest be yours at night. May patience, understanding, and compassion be the ground of your work and play. May you bring love into the world that waits. So may it be. Amen.